for illumined life to be birthed into form. I am the truth. I am the light. Illumined, beloved divine.
So hello there everyone, and welcome to this video with me here today, and we will talk about some very interesting things. I went to my Mountain Valley again, my favorite and most beautiful pristine place here, where I often connected with the White Lady or the White Mother, and Aurea as well, you know, my own spirit essence self. And last year when we came here in October, after quite a journey, as you remember, going up the hill, up and down and all around, we came here again, and I was so happy that month of October. And now I can't believe it's been 1 year and I'm here, and yet it feels like I'm not anymore. It was a really interesting feeling when I came here for the first time today. It's like, you know, lately, or as of the late, I just can't connect to this place anymore the way I used to. And it's drastically known to me by now that, you know, although this beautiful pristine portal of mine is still here, or Aurea's portal, is located around a wider region that spreads all the way to the Twin Lakes in Italy, and it's a beautiful space. However, it just no longer feels like home. It's like my body no longer recognizes this place as home. And I've shared some of my own stumbling experiences with you that relate to my body, and as of the late, in the past few days, I had to learn the hard way that my body is no longer the same body. And because my body has received so much of these electrical discharges, you know, and it's been very abused, and the divine healers, when we do the channeling work of the healing for me, for my body, they always tell me that it's a wonder that I'm still walking around. And they're saying that this cold climate basically no longer functions for me, no longer is good for my body. And I'm well aware of that, because you know me, I used to be such a mountain goat, and I've climbed all these mountains and went here and there. And it's not that I'm physically incapable of doing that. You know, every time I would, let's say, sweat and a cold weather comes and wind comes, all these pressure points, you know, the one I have here in the back and here, they're all really much get painful. And you know, this part, and you know, the pain starts coming up because the nervous system has been so damaged. So when the nervous system has been damaged, it becomes hypersensitive, you know. I don't know how you call this in English. I think it's called neuralgia or neuralgia, or I don't know. It's basically pain of the nervous system. And even when you read online, it's not something you can just easily heal. I think some of the things that help is getting in shape in terms of energy, cultivating lots of life force, which up until this point I wasn't able to do much because I put it all in my work. I needed to complete this. I needed to finish this transgression chapter and journey. So I haven't yet begun this whole body revitalization and replenishment process yet. It feels like I'm just beginning. Actually, when I came here today, I found a white spiral, but I can no longer see it. For some reason, I don't know where I put it. It's, you know, it's a way through which Spirit has always been speaking to me. And it's interesting why I can't see it now. I just placed it somewhere here. Now it's gone. Well, anyway, I always find these white spirals, you know, and I don't know whether I find it towards the end. It's just like, it blew me away now because I'm trying to find it, and I don't think I'm going to be able to find it because I shifted places, you know, for recording, finding my best spot. So I found this white spiral, and it spoke to me again about this completion journey and how things are nearing down, they're winding down. I just no longer feel embraced by the space the way I used to, and how my inner child was so happy living here for those 7-8 years. It just no longer feels like this is the journey, you know. So today I had a beautiful meditation experience, and I'll talk about it when we get to that part. And it was just so interesting because as I got my message, this song started playing on my MP3 player, and the song is called The Last Exit by this band I really love. And it's just, you know, the way they sing about it, you know, how it's just a movement into the next space. This is actually the topic of today's video, the New Ascend Realm. So I really had this long desire, you know, kind of like those old folks in America, in USA, when they moved to Florida, because, you know, their bodies can't take the whole cold anymore. It's how I feel now. And I used to love the cold because, I don't know, for some reason the air felt very crispy and everything was so charged with particles in wintertime. And it feels very devastating for me that, you know, it's like all these beautiful mountains there and I can't even climb them. And it's just, it feels like the end of this journey. It feels like this body has done tremendous amount of energy cultivation by physically moving the energy around, this portal work, which, as you know, was then completed. Then this transgression work had to be done, and all these things. There were so many chapters that, you know, only I myself know about. So today I felt like to share with all of you that I feel probably this will be kind of like my last video in this space. So I really wanted to do some extra. So basically I walked the entire mountain valley, came back very tired, but my device was not with me. So I couldn't record my video because I couldn't have such a heavy backpack and my notebook and some food. So I left it there in my car. So I returned and basically the sun is going down. So I had to basically return here again halfway through, and it's a lot and my body was already tired. So I said, okay, this is the last time I'm making this effort because my body just can't stand effort anymore. It feels like it's just been so depleted. It's just been so used for this mission work, and it feels like, you know, it's time for my pension, it's time for my retreat. And my desire for a very long time was to live in a warmer climate. I did not have any idea how that would play out. I really don't know. But at the same time, I feel it won't be long before what I will be talking about until this next stage, which, you know, Spirit calls the new ascend realm. But before we go into that topic, and yeah, I want to just say that I'm sorry I won't be able to be outside recording videos, because the last time I did the videos for you 2 hours straight in the wind, I got very difficult pain here in my back, because, you know, when you're sweaty and you're wet and the wind comes, it's basically, you know, Spirit told me this wind and cold is the worst enemy of the body, especially of the body that has been transgressed like mine. If you're not aware, you know, I feel sometimes like walking Frankenstein, you know, and still people wouldn't know. It feels like I look the same, I look youthful, but like I said, reverse my age, and I feel like instead of 38, I'm 83. And, you know, I still have so much excitement for life, and basically it's my youthful nature. That's who I am as Aurea. That's also who Polona is, and basically it's difficult because the body just can't follow through the same things, and all these pains start showing up when the climate gets colder. And this year, as I've explained, we didn't have much of a fall. It's just been from summer to winter, and it's difficult because the body didn't have any time to adjust. So I've been having quite some repetition of painful symptoms, and that's why I want to say enjoy this video. You can always go back to my old videos if you want to watch the scenery, but I won't be able to record now that it's colder, and, you know, until my passage somewhere else, I guess, I won't be able to record this way. I feel my work is changing. Last few nights ago, I basically sat down on my mat. I have this mat in my room. It's my yoga space. And I started singing the song of the mother, the song of the beloved. And I had this impression that this is something I want to do more, just channel frequencies and embrace every one of you with my love. My work has been very, it's exhausting, you know, to receive so much information and then dispose it in a way that requires a usage of a lot of energy. So I feel this part is also completing. And I don't know, I can't find the white spiral anywhere. I must have put something on it, or maybe it was just for me. I don't know, but it's just not here. And maybe towards the end I'll find it and record it specifically, but it's been there, it is still here. It didn't de-manifest, it's still here. I just can't see it, okay? I'm focused on you, I'm focused on today's topic. But actually, before I start today's topic, I actually want to share two beautiful things, okay? The first thing is something that I witnessed, which is very interesting, and it has an information there through the occurring of this event. It wasn't really an event, but in a way was, because everything is. I really want to share this with you, okay? It has some information that came through this specific unfolding. So I don't know how many of you know that, but I have this triangle-based, huge beloved painting. Two beings coming up from the ocean of lotus blossoms. These beings are divine beloveds, and this painting was, I believe, created for me. I knew it when I first saw it, and this woman who painted it lived in our village, you know, where I used to live before. She was a very interesting woman, very sweet woman, but very secluded and reclusive in a way, and kind of just withdrawn and, you know, like pulled into herself. But she had this exhibit once in just across the border in Italy, and we went there because of course we knew her. And I saw this painting and I fell in love with it for the first time I saw it. It's just amazing. And those of you who are with me on Patreon, you've probably seen the painting, because this year when we lived somewhere, right, the painting was just above my bed because that's the only way I could place it, and it always had to be with me. You know, it was just something that is really reminding me of that beloved, that true love essence. And, you know, she just gave it to me for a very discounted price at that time. She's like, it's not even about the money. She feels like, she said to me, I feel this is your painting. She even told me, she says, I painted it for you, I feel like, for some reason. And it was really beautiful. So it was sad to hear, right, that she basically was very sick. She didn't really talk about it. She told us. And then a few years ago, it wasn't long ago, basically, but it was before we actually moved out of our apartment, she died, right? And I remember my mother one day, she told me when she was passing her house, because she lived there alone, and her paintings, I can't tell you, were amazing. Not just these kind of paintings, because she had different styles. In that exhibit, they were paintings that were cosmic. I mean, I couldn't believe that she's able to paint this. Like, she could paint the cosmos. I mean, it was just amazing. She was really gifted, really special soul. And so my mom goes, walks by her house and says, I had a feeling, she said hello to me because it was her name and saying hi. And it was like smoke coming from the chimney, and no one lived in the house because they had some, you know, family issues and court stuff. And, you know, you're going through these processes, of course, when someone passes. And she was like, but I had this feeling she's there. And it's like she was greeting me with the smoke coming from the chimney, and no one was there. Literally no one. So, okay, we forget about it, right? And we move on. And suddenly, I think it was this week or the end of last week, I don't remember. But my mom tells me, you know, I had a dream about her. And she was telling me about, because she had some problems, physical problems, you know, with the house, but also inner problems. And she really never talked about anyone about that. So she says to my mother in the dream, and you know, my mother is Christ channeler, and they were connected as well, you know, because when she died, we did the special prayer for her. And then she tells her in the dream, you know, that she's still living in the house, but she doesn't really have problems, you know, inside problems. She only has outside problems. So the moment my mom told me about this dream, I was like, oh, I knew what it was about. I had these goosebumps, and I said, she never left. The darnest thing, the lady never left. Heck, you know? I was like, but we did this prayer and all of that. And basically I witnessed, because she was very in fear. Once she visited us and she talked about these things like Anunnaki and all of that. And she was really like asking me things, you know, what happened with her, all this. And, you know, she had basically so much fear inside of her, although she was such a sentient, such a sensitive soul. And she wanted always to do everything for the community with exhibits and, you know, cultural things. But she didn't really care for herself much, I see. She was much of a loner too, in a way. And basically, right, what happened when she told me about that, I saw like she never really left. And at that time, we couldn't know, right? I was transgressed. I was not really aligned. I wasn't fully Aurea resurrected yet. And basically, we had our own problems. So it was interesting to hear that, you know. And then I said, oh gosh, goodness, what could we do, right? And I felt like she was attached to something and she couldn't leave. You know, sometimes we say beings, people, they leave, but they stay around the Earth's plane, and sometimes even in their houses, in their locale, they just don't leave because they're so attached to something that either happened or didn't happen. And it's very traumatic for these souls because then they can't move on into the light, right? So I say to my mom, you know, work with Jesus, and you know how, because she had more of a relationship with her than I did. I said, you know what to do, and work with Jesus, work on putting this prism of golden light through her house, create this like funnel of light, and create a passageway for her. And she went into deep meditation. They did that. I have tears because wow, I mean, I could see her working. She was so much in bliss. When her eyes were closed, she was like really in it, right? And she did it. She said, Jesus guided me through the process. We did everything. It was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful meditation experience. I said, you see, you learned something new, what you can do, what you're capable of doing as Florentina. Yeah, that's her soul name. So anyway, what happens next? Probably wasn't even long. Like 2 days after, I had a very restless sleep, very restless night. I couldn't sleep. And during that night, I just suddenly get a message. I wake up and I had this inner knowing. She left. It's all good. She's with Christ now. You know, she's with the angels. She went back to her like angelic self. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this real? And they just kept replaying it in my mind, so I couldn't sleep. I was very much, you know, restless sleeper, tossing and turning around. And then I asked the next morning with my mom to confirm, and Jesus confirmed. And he was like, she's with the light. But there's something I learned through this process. Okay, first, thumbs up. We did the work. We helped this beautiful individual. And I was just so excited, you know, to learn about that and to get the message directly from Spirit that night. Because, you know, during night, you can't like make things up. It's just like it came out of the blue. And, you know, usually I don't receive like that. But this was very clear, like this happened, period. It was so intense. And it was such a clear knowing. So basically, I received this guidance, right, during the process, moving through it. You know how sometimes we say these souls don't leave, and this is bad for them because they stay hooked and they stay around the Earth's atmosphere. But you know what's happening? I got this insight, basically, that if she left prematurely, she'd be hijacked and just pulled back into this, what we call the wheel, the karmic wheel. So basically, it's almost like sometimes, I'm not going to generalize it in overview like this is the same for all cases, but in this case, this was almost like she was waiting. She was waiting for the work to be done. She was waiting for the Christ light, and someone had to open the gates here on the planet, right? And the corridor was her house. That's what she didn't want to leave. And basically, the house is now renovated. There's new people living there, you know. I wonder if they had ghost problems, issues. I don't know. You know, sometimes people hear these voices and stuff. It's very interesting. You know, I'd have to go ring the bell and ask. You know, just kidding though. But anyway, I just saw this was actually a graceful unfolding because it was a few years. I don't know, 2, maybe 3. I don't know. Just a few years. And from that perspective of like being in this astral body, it doesn't seem much, right? But it's like this, you know, when you hear these ghost stories, these beings leave like always the same day, like it's always on the repeat, like just they can't find a space to leave, they're just walking around, right? So it's basically a form of entrapment. But in this case, it served a purpose because she wasn't escorted through this golden Christ presence, and we basically created this funnel of light for her. And my mother did the work. I was the instructor, as always. I'm the guide. I told her what she must do, but she needed to learn that practice, and that she was totally capable of doing that. So yeah, that happened. She was liberated. She was able to access the real ascension, not ascension, but you know, the real gates that are angelic gates, not archonic gates. Okay, so the reason why I'm also mentioning this today is because it does relate to the topic. And in the previous video, my ascension update, I did talk about the white light and how sometimes, you know, some scripture would say, when you see the white light, go in the other direction, seek the golden light of Christ. And it's something absolutely you have to do, because if it's a blinding white light, you don't want to go there. Okay, so it's something that aligns with the topic. So it's also a nice story. I think it's a beautiful share. So I really felt to share with all of you here, because I do have some extra time with the sun, I think, you know, before it goes down, I hope. Because sometimes it happens, the sun already goes down and I'm still recording, and then, you know, it's not good for my health, because suddenly it gets from the warmth of the sun super cold, because there's no sun. It's all, as you can see, it's all rocks, yeah, and it's cold. So either way, the next sharing I have to share with all of you, it's, you know, I mentioned a little bit about my work with individuals, and I just had another session. This was the 5th one. This is like, wow, I did a lot in just probably not even a month time. I mean, let's say an overview. It was a lot. I worked a lot. So basically, I'm seeing how these people, these beautiful individuals, they're all what Spirit calls the pure ones, right? Or volunteer souls, or crystalline beings who came on this planet at a specific time. But in each and every one of these cases, something along the line of their journey got hijacked. Somehow the dark penetrated into their own personal realm, their own experience, so they couldn't access that immaculate light anymore. They couldn't access their true source of divine family inspiration, and they became a part of what we call the wheel, right? And it's very interesting also because, you know, a lot of people misplace these things, and they would say, well, it's just the karma, it's how it is. First and foremost, I have to mention something here before I go deeper into the subject. You know, I still see people, especially in the readings, they would say, yeah, this person, this, that, they will have to earn their karma. It serves them right. They need to get their karma. And, you know, karma is not something when you can say, well, you know, they deserved it. it's like if we're coming from that space, we're not coming from love. You know, yes, karma has to play itself out, but you also need to know that there's a realm, there's a whole world beyond what we call karma and karmic law. Karmic law is a part of the wheel. It's the reincarnation wheel, and it is also what comes through what we call the archonic design, the gridded design of the earth. Sorry, have lots of air coming through. So if you're still in that thought processing and that's all you can think about, you need to shift, and you need to know that we're needing to move perspectives now into a life beyond what we call karma. Cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. That's constant duality. Ascension path is a spiral. And basically at that point, what we call karma ends. There's a whole new world the soul will step into. And if you believe, some people believe, well, we all go when we die to the same place. It's all the same evolution. It's all the same process. No. And I'm going to say it in the way that I just recently recorded on Patreon, and I was very vehement. And I just said, no, no. Because that's falsehood, and you can't be so egoic to project every single thing into the same unfolding, you know, and what we call people go to heaven. You know, no, this is the astral heaven, you know. There's only higher realms, astral, and this. And there's levels of what we call the higher realms. And, you know, not even people who are more advanced and they would liberate themselves would then go to what we call the same places, okay? So each and every one of these individuals who comes to me for guidance, for a session, for consultation, it's basically what I learned now through these examples is, as Aurea's direct, now resurrected incarnation self, I'm just witnessing them. And basically what's happening is I'm witnessing their highest aspect, which is basically when they first came, their original inception point, point before the inception took place. Sometimes I'm confused the words, but they're totally different words. Conception is of a divine birthing design. Inception is of the matrix, okay? And it's gridded. And it's written into interfere with your divine source blueprint. So when these beings, when they first came right into this timeline, the earthly timeline, when they came through, and each one of course came in a different timeline, each one had a completely different soul journey and story, and also right because of that their essence is so unique. They're not the same. And I've actually through each and every one of these individuals channeled something of a higher, more refined nature that helped me to see reality of creation, which I already as an Elohim incarnation know a lot about. But I was basically through each and every one of those individuals, I was witnessing this highest aspect of, wow, how life moves into form through them. And I want to share something about the most recent example, which is so beautiful. And, you know, I just, when I'm with this experience, I'm witnessing, and I'm lovingly witnessing it with that individual, it's like I'm taken on a journey, and the being is also taken on a journey. And sometimes, you know, I will work extra hard. If it's a very beautiful individual and I feel they just need it, I will work extra hard. And, you know, yes, it takes a lot on my part. And people who think these sessions are free, no, they will never be until I'm here. And also what I want to say is I won't always be doing them. So when my, you know, retirement aspect of my plan, because my divine plan consists of several chapters in my life, when I come to that point when I only will be focusing ascension, then I won't be doing service work for others anymore, because that will be just reserved for me and my own personal body work. At that point, I won't be doing that anymore. So I feel up until this point, it's very necessary for me to go through this and provide the space. And I think it's only a few select individuals, and I think it's very specific souls, which I was also shown in the mother's dream, which I had years ago, right, with the divine hand moving through and reaching for those just few who it was their time. And what I'm noticing now consistently, like each individual, I feel some of them are really young and waking up super fast, but they all had difficult lifetimes. So when I walk them through the experience, it's so interesting, because it's almost like, you know, when we had this old idea, you need to witness your lifetimes and traumas, and people who are doing trauma work, that's very old. So the way spirit works through me, it's very much just all based on love. It's witnessing things through your own essence, because first, you don't going browsing through that karma, you would call it, or trauma even, because that just stirs up more crap, right? What spirit does through me is, you know, it lovingly moves the individual into receiving their first mirror, like clear mirror of their true essence, their truest, purest essence, and usually dating all the way back to this immaculate plan. This is how it was in the recent session. And it was interesting because I just made a video about the immaculate life principle, the universal immaculate life design, right? So anyway, it became so interesting to me, and I was fascinated by the whole experience. Because Spirit just said, we don't need to go, and, you know, sometimes you go to a channeler and they would tell you were this in a past lifetime and this happened. An individual is so then consumed with that idea, even sometimes obsessive about it, and they get so lost and entrenched in it, that's all they see. And it affects them negatively, not positively. The way Spirit actually operates, and with that I mean the Holy Spirit, which is immaculate, it shows the individual first their truest, purest form of essence. I do essence work. Spirit is essence-based work. So because I myself am a being who operates through an essence level, I can then do this work at that level for others. But those, of course, who are ready. If it's someone who doesn't even know what I'm talking about, they won't be able to witness it with me, right? So it's always the chosen person, the one who feels called, the one who's ready, and it's always the right timing and the right alignment, and everything is always so immaculately woven together that it leaves me breathless at the end. You know, sometimes even the individual, you know, the last case, the person tells me like, how do you know my life? I'm like, I don't know. God knows. God knows. So when I channel it through Spirit, it's just so pure. And when you're lovingly witnessing this highest essence coming through, then that individual will use this essence to witness those aspects that we say, well, this is when the trajectory of the fallen design occurred. This was like a blending in point, right? So the essence then holds that, puts it in what we call putting in the womb, and that is the womb of the mother. And then through that womb, right, it's almost like the sacred rose, which we've talked about in one of the videos, is oh, that was on Patreon, sorry. Those of you who are there, you know what I'm talking about. So that rose opens up and it creates this whole new experience through which things can just be absorbed back into the original immaculate design of life and the purity the individual holds at their own immaculate self, which is the essence level self. And so that just naturally absorbs and things just start dissolving and falling away. So you don't need to go and pick up pieces that you would say scattered pieces, fragmented pieces, and go there, because a lot of people, they don't know what to do then. They get lost around a specific fragment, and I've explained that before. They just start spinning around it, and sometimes they would choose to spin around it for a very long time. And some of these individuals get so much entrenched in one aspect of them, they completely forget about the whole. And these people are usually very mentally based. They project like their idea of what spirituality is into the totality of the whole. You know, they would just tell people this is how it is, this is, you know, people would preach. And you know, you have to know that every being is at a different level. Even what I talk about, not everyone will understand. But also people who don't understand will usually judge it and say, what she's talking about, she's mental, she's nuts. Okay, for them I am. But who's making the judgment call, right? We have to ask. It's always the ego. It's always ego is the separate self. It's a part of what I said, individual that exists in one particular fragmented form, but they're not really exuding their own spiral self, which exudes from their core, which is the essence self, right? So in this latest session work, I have to be really careful with the sun, though. I have to check for the sunlight, for my supply, for my food for thought. In the body. It's like in this latest session, what we witnessed, I have to share this aspect of you. I felt it was really beautiful because it aligns with this immaculate life design we've talked about. So I was witnessing this consciousness that basically Spirit calls the Devic consciousness. And the Devic consciousness is, of course, first always based on the essence level. So when we went into where the individual first came to this timeline here and started working with their knowledge, with their divinity, what they were created for, as in source part of that variation of creation, which I talked about like years ago. In one of my first videos, I talked about variation of creation. And if you think everyone's the same and we all do the same things, no. Again, no, period, comma. And it's like, it was so beautiful to witness because this Devic consciousness that this being was channeling through, and basically I felt like I was picking a lot of information just through their eyes. Their eyes were just gorgeous. You know, the whole being was very gorgeous, I have to say. And there was a lot of essence coming through about their beauty, you know, how they need to witness why this beautiful essence and why physical beauty, and it related with this Devic consciousness. So the Devas are, this Devic kingdom and these aspects, these beings are like, they would bring like the push for life to become something else, like to be refined. So when I first saw this being coming on this planet, planet wasn't physical yet. It was like a essence of the water. It wasn't physical, what we call H2O water yet. And there was these beings holding this consciousness together. And what they were doing, because the first channeling I received from them was their light crown. And that crown, right, during the journey of inception and introjection with the dark timelines, it started waning. And, you know, the core, it's still the same, as you know, but it didn't exude that much light anymore in this natural exuding way, which is what the essence way is. So when you're at the essence level, you don't need to do much. You shift from doing to just being, because you can exude that light, because you return to your immaculate primordial state, right? And it's the most difficult thing to actually do on earth, you know, and that's why I believe it's only going to be a few individuals in this lifetime working through me and with me, with Aurea's light. And it was really beautiful, because this crown was something I never channeled about before. The way this crown was designed, we worked with this, what we call the prismatic crystal, which is, you know, we talked about the prism of light and how white light moves through and it creates these fragments of itself. But these were not fragments, they would say fragmented pieces, you know, distorted pieces. They were like light was being reflected when light moved through those crystals. They were all like part of this crown was directly created through the core crystal of that essence of the Davic nature. And then it was like this crown of light in itself was an extension of this crystal. It moved out into the structure of what we call the creation, into creation of this realm, which was around the earth. And it was really beautiful to witness that. And I'm talking about this because it aligns with what we're going to talk about, the new realm, right? The new ascended realm towards the end. And it was like the light through this prismatic crown was being reflected, and at the same time it was also retracting light. So it's like pulling it back to itself, like retracing, and in this process it multiplied light. So it was like this infinite supply of this light, and then the usage of this light through the sound was woven into the prismatic light of what became now this realm. So then a while passed, and it was like a passageway through, and then I was taken into a timeline when the being, because that was the life that was just the essence, right? Wasn't probably a planet yet. It was just a planetoid. I don't know. It was just like an early stage of its essence development. And the way these Davic kingdoms were working with it was really beautiful to watch. And so the next segment, the next sequence was feeling, okay, the next timeline, the being came. It was almost like these beings would then say, well, now let's witness the energy expressions that we created. So life was then already physical. It was already a physical planet. And these beings then wanted to be with their creations and their playful design. So I was seeing almost like this mermaid-like creature, this being swimming with the fish. And this aspect of beauty came through, which is, you know, why the fish were created in these beautiful colors. So the Davic kingdoms, they would be working with like I said, they work with the principle of beauty. They're refining things, they're beautifying things. And as well, you know, many of these beings are also physically very appealing and beautiful, because they are their own creation. You know, you are what you are in any way, shape, or form. And all sequencing through all of life, right? And we would say different densities. Okay, so that was beautiful. And the next part, the next segment I witnessed was what the creation, what they called the first co-creation between the masculine and feminine principles of light. So I was following the structure, the design shown to me, like the being first and walking on the land, like being on the land. And I saw the temple. There was like a priestess temple. And then these priestesses, there were like a few women. They were like very much all about holding space. It was a space of honoring, of grace, just this pure beauty. And then I was taken to this timeline when it was shown to me like the crowning of the first king, and still had a feeling of an aquatic presence or life, but it was like this masculine was in this, he was like the pillar surrounding the circle of these feminines who were the priestesses. And literally the immaculate principle of masculine and feminine energies, the way it was first woven together and created for this planet, on this planet, as you know, through the Elohim design of the Heroes Gamos sacred union and division, right? Unify to divide to create aspects of life of itself, as what Spirit says when the Elohim divide. Not divide and conquer, just divide and create and enjoy and bring love to your creations. No conquering here. Anyway, I don't know why I said this, but either way, someone maybe must have heard it wrong. And so this was beautiful because it was shown that the masculine, the crowning masculine, this was the first divine which said the king, right? The king, the crowning of the first king. He was basically crowned or brought to this experience because of the essence of these women, these priestesses, these beautiful divine feminines. They were like encircling the spiral around the masculine, who was like this pillar. It was really beautiful to witness. So it was because of that, what he received from the feminine, he was able to serve the people. Like, let's say there was a specific society or civilization, and he served through the feminine principle. That's how it should be. But as you know now, the masculine is no longer the true masculine. It's no longer the divine masculine. It's the fallen masculine. And we don't talk about only men. We're talking about like how life is lived. And the fallen masculine is not just a man, a fallen masculine principle, but it's also church, religion, all the constructs, you know, schooling systems, all the systems basically that are based on control, that enforce a specific type of something we need to, according to that system, be controlled through. You know, that's how you're supposed to live when you're on this planet, period. No freedom of choice, right? This is how it is, and it doesn't serve the whole. And it's most definitely not masculine, receiving from the feminine first. So we were shown how, I was shown through spirit that the masculine within us also, right? Because we each need to create that. Our ascension is based on illuminating the original ideals or templates of the masculine and feminine creation designs. So basically, even when you just look at ourselves or yourself as a human, your masculine self, which is your active Christ principle, needs to first receive the nourishment, the nurture of that spiral of the feminine support. And then when you have that support, right, then you know what to do, what guidance, what directive, you know, everything in your life. When you're depleted of that, you always go to the mind and you try the mental side of life, tell you things. And that's why people get so bogged down. They're like, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And they just keep on bumping their head against the wall because they're not functioning according to the true principle of how life is designed. The feminine within us, within our body, has to weave that spiral and circle the masculine. Then he can feel confident and assured. He rises up as that king. And then that active Christ principle then goes and serves the whole, serves, in this case, first yourself, and then we would say, well, the human spirit, or in that case, it was serving a specific civilization, for example. So that was really beautiful, but without risking too much with the sun going down and me getting not good symptoms in my body. I want to say a few words in how this relates to our ascended realm, right? So again, I need to reiterate to all of you watching here that this is not for everyone, that not everyone will move into this creation. That if that's not something you're feeling in your heart, it's just most definitely not for you. And because of that, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean I'm a phony. It doesn't mean I'm a fake, because it didn't happen. It didn't happen for you, and it's not your path you're moving towards. It's only for the select few. These people will always know how, when, where, because they will resonate with that. And for them, it will be an effortless path. And this is something they're naturally feeling a sense of devotion to. It's not something they're going to learn about. It's not something you can train yourself with, you know. It's not something you can force. You can't enforce anything in life. What I teach is the feminine life principle and of life giving. So if that naturally aligns with you, perfect. If not, I already said, like, go away, go straight, and find your path in this lifetime that you feel it's aligned with you. What I'm teaching is most definitely not for everyone. Sometimes I wonder when people would tell me these things, I'm like, why do these people even find me? Because why do they even watch me? You know, I know someone gets something. Each person would get something. But specifically, the reason why I'm here is for this. And to guide these beings into this, right? So even amongst all these beings, right, their ascension, like each ascension would be different. So that's the first thing I want to actually share. We've had this day, and it was a very difficult day, and we were praying a lot. I was praying to God, and I said, why was my life so difficult, and now my body's all ruined? So how will you then, God, now serve me? What will you bring me in return? And God said, it's the way you will ascend. And I said, what do you mean? God said, your ascension is your gift. That's my gift to you, is your ascension. Period. You know, you've worked for it, you've created it. So it's God within me created that ascension. But he also showed me that each ascension of each illumined being, you know, like Jesus' ascension, God said, was totally different. He said the way Jesus ascended, he ascended through still that vertical, more masculine perspective. He needed the feminine. He had Magdalene. She helped him with the codes, and then she passed on the knowledge and, you know, many of these things that people don't, not all of them know about. And she needed to stay here, you know, it is for a specific reason. But the way he ascended was different. The way he demonstrated at that timeline was different. God said, now the way I will ascend is through this divine trinity. And this divine trinity, basically, God said, is a trinity of me, my mother, and my beloved. So basically me, my beloved, and her. She is the child. She is the child aspect. God said, no one on this planet ascended this way before. I said, that will be your gift, your unique ascension that no one has created that way of ascending before. It's more complex, it's more refined. But each time, God said, it's a different design of ascension that illumined beings would choose to create. And that would be their challenge. So basically, God said, that's your gift. Okay. In relation to how will this be occurring and what is the new realm like, I won't go into that in this specific video, but I will tell you that something interesting happened again, because my mother has this clear channel a lot through her dreams. And what took place is we had this very difficult day and we were praying a lot and we were getting these messages. We were asking God directly. We're saying, just please show us. We don't want to be misled. You know, we really need to know if we will be taken care of. We don't need to, we can't end up. And I was saying to God, I did everything I could. I gave all of myself. Now look at my body. It's been like washed to the shore, like left oblivious. And God said, in case things don't go through, because we wanted to know about the plan B in case the plan A doesn't work out, right? God said, I will open up the heavenly doors. And we still were like, yeah, we don't know, right? Was that the mind? Was it God? Let's just leave it, okay? Guidance received, but let's leave it, okay? That's how we are. We don't just like automatically take something. We just really have to feel it first. So that night, the same night, my mother had a really strong dream. And I mentioned some about it on Patreon already, and I'll share with all of you here as well. In that dream, it was like we were being squeezed more and more, and it was like us riding on this bus, and the bus had nowhere else to go because all the trails were very rugged, ugly. There was like this gravel, you know, gravel everywhere. She said the gravel was a very ugly color, and it looked like Lucifer's color. You know, there were all these police cars and different vehicles, and it was all having a sense of control. I basically felt like nowhere else to go, and it was very rugged edge and shelf, and the bus suddenly had to stop, and the bus driver, and she knew there were people on the bus, but she only felt us, and we were actually the only ones who went off the bus. We went off, and I just simply said to her, look, this is the trail we must go. Again, me, always the guide, always the smarty pants, right? Why always had to be me? And then I was just going that path. We were walking, and it felt getting rugged, and it was a very ugly looking path. She said there was no more beauty left. And then all of a sudden we're going, and I see this rock, and I tell her, this is it, we found it. And it was almost like a little silverish. And for her, it looked like slippery. And she said, no, I'm going to fall. And I said, no, it's smooth, but it's good. You know, let's just go. And I was saying to her, just pass me your hand. So she gave me her hand. And the moment she did that, she felt like, oh my God, it's so easy. The moment she went on the rock, we were no longer in that world. We were in the next realm. And this new realm, she said, I couldn't describe it, she said to me. She was like, it was all flowers. Everything was more of a feminine essence of life. Everything felt slower, like life was slow. And people there were all working on beautifying things. Like they were beautifying the environment. And they were all there working, but there was this slow, steady, devoted sense. It was very, very beautiful. And I think her dream basically answered the question, how will it be occurring and what is the new realm like? So she described it with so many flowers of different colors. You know, like these ethereal drawings that sometimes you only see on oracle cards or dreamlike fantasy like movies or cartoons, right? This is how it looked. And it was really beautiful. And we had this feeling like, oh, we made it. That's it. We made it. And we were there. So our ascension plan and map and configuration on Earth has been what I already shared through you and for you through the mission videos. There's a whole playlist called Illumined Mission, and these videos are all there. I think there's 4 or 5 of them. I don't know, because they kept being, you know, like more and more as I was going, following the path. So I have to hurry, okay? The sun is just about ready to go down. Remember in the dream, in these videos, I talked to you about specific enfolding for different types of beings, like those who are fully going to ascend as ascending beings, beings who are now in the gray zone, undecided. They still haven't accessed their choice point, and they haven't integrated their choice point, right? It's still going to be timing prolonged, but it's like they showed it to me when I was in that channeling. They said, I will have to go first, because we're literally going to create that golden gate archway of that ascension. We're going to go into the realm. And we were shown like this divine trinity, and Spirit said, you're the chosen ones, you, the beloved, and my mom. And Jesus confirmed. We were doing lots of sessions with him. So basically, I don't know how. I don't have physical answers. The only thing I know is when we were praying, God said, you have to release all of the worrying about the how and when to me. You just have to absolutely know that this is the truth, because otherwise we wouldn't have felt it. We wouldn't feel it like this. And it's not this earth, and it's not higher timeline earth. It's just a new realm. And I've explained to you that the way Elohim beings use prismatic light to create realms. And what happened today, this was very interesting. I didn't know. I came here, I went on top of this hill, and I had a mini meditation. Suddenly I see this golden light, and it was moving. And when this happens, I'm seeing there's light beings around me, and I see I'm accessing the portal information in the portal realm. So suddenly, this is very rare. They don't use much words. Light beings don't channel. They give you complex sentences. They sometimes will just drop something like a clear bomb. That's how I get it when I get it from them. And suddenly, I just hear these words when they were like wrapping me all over, and it was all this movement. It was swift movement. It felt like golden light moving, and it was rotating. And they said, the realm is now complete and it's ready. And then they also said, the realm is ready to receive you now. I was like, what? And they said, the beloved is the key, right? Then said, it starts with the beloved. So this is the missing key, the missing ingredient. And that is because we had this question. We said, God, why didn't this happen before, already? Because I was ready. I said, I'm ready. I don't have a feeling like there's much left to do aside from me assisting these individuals, right? Who are on that path, who've been somehow stuck somewhere along their timeline, pulled into the dark, and they became the servant instead of this server of God. They couldn't remember again how beautiful and immaculate they are, right? So this is what I'm doing now through these sessions, and that is something I understood. I must have completed as well. So the transgression work, so we completed the earth anchoring, right, with the lumen seed of life planted, and the portal work was complete. That was before my transgression occurred. Then the transgression work happened. Then we needed to do the resurrect the original configuration in my body through Aurea's resurrection, and I had to go through all the channels. So the prismatic light, they said, could be accessed through me, but also used to configure. And it was very interesting. That's when they said I had to open up my womb completely now, and my heart as well. So at that time, they said the heart, your heart, like physical heart and your physical beloved's heart, now just your what we would call the higher heart or the etheric heart. They said now this infinity symbol is fully interlocked between your hearts. Before they were like veils of illusion due to this transgression. And basically I saw both of us being transgressed in a way. So that was difficult, right? So creating this ascension timeline, we've talked about, those of you who are interested, you need to start using the golden spiral work through your body, because it unlocks the keys of everything that's still kind of distorting your perception of reality. That's the ascension spiral, no longer this karmic wheel and being in cycle, and that's it, and that's all you know, and that's all you believe into. So the ascension spiral, the golden spiral, assists your body, assists your entire, like, 3 main portals in the body, the root, the heart, and the crown, to be aligned again, and for you to receive this divine light intelligence from illumined beings and your own immaculate self. Okay, this is the work. So I have this on Patreon. The next month I already shared, there will be a feminine approach to the spiral and locking it in within this prismatic life on this planet, the crystalline structure of this planet. So that was that, and it was really beautiful today to witness that and to receive that information. And it was like, oh, and it was almost like the feeling, because when you receive something like the realm is ready to receive, you're like, okay, now I would just disappear. And it wasn't like that. It was just like indicating that this is where it begins. This is where we're now starting to do this last segment of our work, and that it was a clear indication that the transgression journey has truly been completed. Hence I saw the spiral, the mini white shell, which I can't find now, oh, bummer. And that was a clear indication this next part begins. And this is the part I feel I'll be more withdrawn. I won't be as outwardly spoken. I won't share as much, but I will do the work on Patreon for those of you who want to go deeper and you feel this is your path. And you absolutely, without a doubt, you want this. They were also telling me, and I have this all channeled, but I'm not going to go into it. I'm just going to speak from my own remembrance state. That was the day when I caught the best, most appropriate light wave. They told me that what's going to happen, because individuals will gradually be moved, right? It's like each time has to come for each individual. And of course, I'll be the first. because I have this prismatic codes that, you know, I know how to use them. And that's why in the dream I found the gate. I found the entrance point, or the entry point, or basically I created it in a way. So it's very interesting to experience that. And they said that then throughout the journey, then individuals who were chosen, who chose that path, who did the work, we will help from the spirit perspective. We're going to help pull them into the realm. So, you know, we'd be kind of like going to pick them up when their time comes. Almost like, you know, an angel would say, oh, this human is now ready for their pickup. Or it has nothing to do with any sorts of alien things, or beam me up, Scotty. There's no alien technology in this. This is simply pure ascension. This is the complete, they said we had to remove the transgression first. This was still blocking us. This was still blocking this Golden Gate ascension into this, what they call the new realm. For people who feel like they're no longer excited about this earthly life, they feel they just completed everything. It's like learn their lessons. That's how my mother is. She feels like without a doubt, I have nothing left here. But the body, that of course, her body experienced again a tremendous amount of pain, and, you know, with her teeth now, you know, she's all these things, like she's lost them, and it's like so many things that were very difficult for her in this life, and it's just hard, you know, and it's not always the easiest of things. But she always felt so much like ready for me. She only, you know, had these last inklings of that left when I was her daughter in this life that I helped her with to liberate from. So I actually will now be reading you the prayer invocation. That's a shorter one, but it's for the ascension. And you don't get to say this prayer if that's not what you're feeling for yourself, because every prayer that you're actually reenacting through yourself and accessing your divinity through, you can't say it from your mind. You have to feel it. You have to feel that's your absolute truth. If it's not, you don't say it, right? So I've written it down for myself, but I want to share it for all those of you who resonate, okay? This is the prayer, and I hope we will catch some last sun waves. Face the sun. Beloved God, I am. I come to you now as a sovereign being. You have to use your name, not mine. Polona Aurea, that I am. I ask for a complete resolution and completion of my Earth life mission, plan, and directive, so that it is witnessed and recognized as completed and fully fulfilled, so that I no longer have to be associated with any sort of will conjured up on earth and of earth belonging consciousness, and can therefore return to the sovereign free will of the sovereign being that I am. All lesser wills and intentions that present themselves as reasons of my further stay on earth are now fully surrendered to your grace. I have served you with utter devotion, and my stay on earth served many parallel missions. Now, I wish to return to the core purpose of my soul's essence, which is illumined union. That is my only intention and desire to experience as a creation angel, the Immaculate One. I no longer wish to be involved with or entangled in any lower earth timelines. The only timeline that I choose for myself is the illumined Golden Christ Ascension timeline through illumined union. That journey is the spiral. As the Immaculate One of God, my will is equal unto divine will, and it serves the higher plan of perfection. I choose to be and go where my illumined beloved is, and enter into the new ascended realm, chosen by us as our next destination. Anything that is not of this higher directive and plan now makes way for this, as it is commanded by God to step aside and let God live out its original purpose of divine illumination. Let my voice be heard and echo out throughout eternity. My will as thine will be done. Beloved God, I am. Beloved God, I am. Beloved God, I am. So be it, so it is. Amen! Namaste. Namaste. So, of course, that was written by me for me. You have to conjure up your own prayer, because obviously you're not me. And you have to use your own voice, your words, your heart, your soul poured out into what you feel is right for you. And throughout these prayers that I've shared with you, some of them, not all, I hope I inspired you to be correct when it comes to using your divine birthright, knowing your true essence self, your core primordial self, which is nothing but immaculate, knowing the principles of unity, that is divine love, wisdom, and power, the triune aspect of God or divine trinity, knowing the unified polarity principle and true divine masculine feminine co-creation, through which you can only that way enter the Heroes Gamos, or the sacred union, through which the Holy Alone can create and exude these light frequencies of source through us. Align with that law and know the universal law of free will, which is basically unified with divine God's will. And by knowing these very few key points, key things for you, your development, you don't need a whole book of law, right? As I've explained. You only need that which is the truth at the core level, the essence, the principle of life and life-giving. I don't want to go so much into the details of the new realm. Perhaps on Patreon we're going to explore that more. The sun is just about ready to go down. So I feel that's that. I just really feel to say, for all those of you who still feel that, like, yeah, but what does that mean? Just drop the mind. You know, I'm my own guide, always have been the free spirit. I've been a translation of the Elohim. Never once have they shared something with me that is false. Only the whispers do that. Only the dark transgression did that for years. But I learned the difference very quickly. You know, because when the Elohim speaks to you, through you, it's only love you will feel. And it's a feeling of being uplifted. It's not that fake sense of fanatic upliftment, which is truly not divine upliftment. It's just a very grounded sense of being uplifted. It's like, that's that. It is what it is. It's a really loving presence, and it has to be matured. Not just immaculate, but also matured. And when something matures within you, you know without a doubt. There's no one that can convince you otherwise, and it's not like you're pushing with your mind. But people who try to oppose you and convince you into something else, they're the ones pushing. So drop these people out of your equation. I have, because these people don't know anything about me. They only watch my videos. Some even only a few. They think they know me. They think they know what I'm about. No, they don't. For the third time, no! They don't. No one does. I do. God knows me. And I've been serving what I believe my mission with all due diligence, with all devotion and purity that I've never witnessed anyone in my life. And maybe there's some other people on the planet I've never met that also belong to this path, but I don't know. But at this point, what the Elohim told me, they said, for now it's you, and you're the one doing this first. And I trust them. Not because I'm being ignorant, but because I know they speak to me through love. It's not a separation. It's not like I'm the only one. They said, for now, I'm the chosen one. They didn't say the only one. I just had this purpose, and to bring that forth so others will follow. And those others, I mean, not everyone, but those who feel their calling in their heart. So I wish to greet you from that space, as always, of love, wisdom, and power. I will have to now watch my body, my back, my legs, my spine. Sometimes I can barely walk when I get cold in my sciatica nerve. So it's difficult. I have to really now tend to my body needing me. My child will be fed first, and this is how we actually get to create this new experience. I have no idea when and how. This is what God said, surrender to me. God knows. But I trust the living God principle. And I trust through the feeling that is coming through my heart always. So, through the heart of my beloved and the love that I feel, I will be seeing you perhaps in a different way and format through my content. But those of you who want to join my Patreon, we're still going to be doing the learning. For those who want to learn, they're not just here to blah, blah, blah. They want to learn something. You're always welcome. And if you're one of those special chosen ones, you feel you want to have a one-on-one with me, because, you know, I'm not here. I can't have it with everyone, as you know. You know, my time will be very reserved for now. But if you feel somehow calling, you know, that will be your soul guiding you. And, you know, you're going to be one of those few that we're gonna do that work together. And you're going to be lovingly witnessed through the pure source that I can provide. And you will be loved. And will be of love, as all my journey has been of love. This is a current goodbye. This is a goodbye for me from this space. I really feel like maybe perhaps I will not come here, you know, even. But I've really embraced that, and I feel it's time. It's time for this new chapter. Goodbye, son. I'll be seeing you tomorrow, hopefully. I'll be seeing you as well, and take care. Bye for now.